that when God leads you to do something, then He is going to sustain you. Hi everybody. Did you like the part where...
What's up, everybody? We are the Neuralysis.
I'm Aaliyah.
I'm Santos. Today we're going to be talking about our marriage testimony, and we're going to talk about all the things that encompass marriage, obedience, faith, and God.
Our overarching idea for this is that when God leads you to do something, then He is going to sustain you. When God gives you a task and you don't know how you're going to get it done,
don't do it, it won't get done.
You don't need to worry about all that.
It won't get done.
We are still learning how to get comfortable in front of the camera and talk to each other. It is so weird than just having a normal conversation. So
But we're trying.
We're getting used to it. We won't get good at it unless we practice. So if you watched our first YouTube video that we just posted with us in the blue, I'm sorry if we look uncomfortable. We also kind of are like in a little bit of a disagreement, in addition to not being familiar with how to record. So our
She was in a disagreement with me.
Why was I in disagreement with you?
Okay.
What was it? I don't even remember what we were.
Exactly.
We never remember while we're arguing.
No. You remember. You be remembering.
I don't remember.
Exactly. So it wasn't that important.
Exactly. It wasn't. This is the thing about when you're married, is that you could literally get into arguments about being in agreement with one another.
Alright, it's supposed to be a positive video. A positive
Don't
video.
get married, everybody.
Alright, let me see the first topic.
Okay. But our pastor actually talked about that on Sunday, which is that when God leads you to do something, that He will sustain it. And so when God told us to get married, it was very crystal clear, because we had been dating for like 5 or 6 years. I don't know the exact number. I think it was 5 years. We had been dating
for 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, we had been dating for 5 years without feeling any pressure to get married. No matter how many people asked us when we were getting married, it didn't really do anything until God really said, it's time.
So how did we know God was calling us to get married? We knew that God was leading us towards marriage when we first started going to TC, because when she first started going to TC, one of the things that appealed to her were the couples that were there, and she recognized that there was power in not only that there was couples there, but that there was also power in community. At the time, I didn't have any mentorship, so I did, but not the ones
spiritual.
Yeah, not spiritual mentors. So she thought that me going there would benefit me and benefit us ultimately, and that's kind of what pushed us towards marriage. I decided to get married for real was when we were sitting in the car and our pastor called me and he was like, well, what are you guys waiting for? Like, you can't be playing house. You guys are shacking up, basically. You live together.
We weren't shacking up at the time, though, right? We were practicing.
No, we were shacking up at the time. Then we said we were gonna.
No, we were not. We were in the process of. We were pretty good. Like, I remember there was only like.
Oh, now you can't speak English.
1 or 2 slip-ups at that time.
Okay, 1 or 2 slip-ups at that time. Whatever. I thought you were telling your story and I was telling my story.
I realized that God had been preparing me to be married before I realized that He was doing it, because I was around a lot of... God was guiding me into getting married, because I was looking back at my journals and I was asking God to prepare me for things. That's what happens when you write prayer journals. I don't read back into them until like afterwards. So I feel like by going to like women's meetings, being around other people at church, seeing like there was a whole bunch of younger married people there and older married people that we could use as a reference, they started making marriage look more necessary versus just, they started making marriage more necessary. And if I'm being, I honestly want to say that one of the biggest reasons at the time for me wanting to get married was because we were practicing celibacy. I know that sounds shallow, but like when we took that off of the table, then it felt like
Brittany, well, you were thinking it. Yeah, well, you said it.
I mean, marriage don't look that bad because at the time, that's why they say that when you're doing everything that married people are doing without the covenant and without like the guiding of God, it doesn't really feel necessary. So at the time we were living together, we were doing the
Nasty.
thing. We were doing all those things. We had shared finances or whatever. So for me, marriage felt like something that we were gonna do once we were in like the financial place that we wanted to be in. But once we took that off the table, I was like, After getting married, I now recognize the benefits to getting married outside of that. But like, I remember that's why we pushed our wedding date up. Because remember, we were gonna get my dream wedding date was August 4th of 2024. But then when we took that off the table, I was like, so you want me to wait? It would have been like almost 2 years.
You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna, nah, it ain't gonna work.
So we changed it to June.
Yep. My fear was that I couldn't. The biggest reason why I didn't propose in the beginning was because I couldn't afford a ring, and because I was unemployed at the time, and I felt like I couldn't afford to have a wedding. Like, I feel like I didn't have it together, so why would I get married and not have it all together? But I didn't realize that I was hurting her more than I was helping her. Long story short, that was some of my fear. Like, I was just like, man, I'm not prepared at all. I'm not financially prepared. I'm not spiritually prepared. I don't know what I'm doing, and I need help. That was really my fear.
I was saying that like the reason why it's important for us to talk about this is because we got married like in a non-traditional way. At the time, us not getting a ring to get married felt like a huge deal in terms of people not understanding that we already were living together, we were already sharing finances, we had a lot of goals outside of just like marriage at the time. Like our goal that year was like to try to pay off debt. We already had this plan. And so when you asked me, like when we had the conversation as to why we weren't getting married and the only reason was because of a ring, I was like, I don't mind not getting a ring right away. I don't care not getting a ring. So that was like a huge thing because people didn't really understand how you could be like engaged without like a huge proposal.
Let me rephrase it. You did care, but it wasn't enough for you to say, I'm not going to marry you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
I just want to rephrase that because saying that I don't care about it and you know,
I didn't care enough at the time to prioritize wanting a ring over being obedient to God. That's what it came down to. And now if you guys are looking at the video, I do have a ring on my finger. So we ultimately ended up getting the material that we wanted, but we had to be obedient to God first. So like I said, at the time, I did not think that getting a ring was more important than not being obedient to God. I did care. I did want a ring. But not so
it wasn't
bad.
a priority.
Yeah, like I was willing to get married without one, and I had a really great wedding.
You felt like you could wait.
Yeah. I compromised because, like I said, where we were at in our relationship, anyways, was that we were so like we were already living together, we were already sharing finances, we were already just doing everything together. So like
the ring was one thing, so we decided not to go with the ring. Then originally we weren't gonna have a wedding. We were gonna have. We were just gonna go to the courthouse and do the paperwork, do that whole shebang, do that thing right there. And then we decided there were so many people around us saying like we should get married, and particularly her mother. That's really the person who actually like kind of pushed more at it. Now that I think about it,
for us to have a wedding.
Yeah, she was really the catalyst of like you guys should have a wedding, you guys should have a wedding, and because she pushed, we ultimately were like, dang, we should have a wedding, and. She really helped with everything with that. And then what?
We had our wedding in her backyard.
Yeah, we had our wedding in her backyard.
And we didn't want it, like, because of the way that, like, she ended up envisioning the whole wedding, ended up looking like in pictures, you can't even tell it was a backyard wedding because we got a tent, we had tables, chairs, we had a dance floor. So it was like a, what people would say as like a traditional normal wedding, but it just was in her backyard.
Yeah, it was an intimate wedding. Yeah. And I remember like I said at the time I was unemployed, so there were so many things that we were just like, all right, God, well, you're calling for us to have this wedding. How are we gonna pay for this wedding? Like, well, we had money.
One day I wake up to a very, very amazing person who sent me an Apple Cash
You can say your uncle.
Yeah, okay. Okay, my uncle sent me $3,000 in Apple Cash for me. But he didn't send it from his regular phone number. He sent it from like one of his work phone numbers. So one morning I wake up, and this is again, I was letting God lead and guide me, so I was not trying to sin. I wake up to $3,000 being Apple Cash to me from a number that I don't know, who I've never texted. So my first instinct is, Lord, I'll send it back. I'm gonna send it back. I know this is not my money. So I took a second, I call him, I call you, and I'm like, hello? I'm like, I just got $3,000 sent to me. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who the number is from. And then all of a sudden, I receive another text from his actual phone in a group chat with my aunt saying, this is for the wedding, whatever you need. Like, we love you and we're so happy for you. Like, congratulations. We had other family friends who are like, we want to gift you like a photographer for the thing.
Yeah, aunts really pitched in.
Yeah, they were all help. Like, everyone was just, it kind of became a thing where like,
my mother cooked.
yeah, all the food. So it became a thing where it's like, it was like father of the bride kind of wedding. If you guys have seen that movie, it was a movie where it's like everyone in the family like pitched in and was like, we're gonna like make this happen. And the beautiful thing about our wedding was that because at the time we were so focused on God and pleasing Him, and at that time I feel like we were in a really good spiritual place. Even more, that was the most spiritually connected to God that I've ever felt in my life in terms of consistency. And we were so focused on that He was having all these other things in our life kind of happen so easily. At the time, God was like taking care of everything, and we were so focused on Him that like a lot of people kind of took the wedding into their own hands in a way, and we really kind of just showed up like for decorations and stuff. We weren't in every single part of like planning. There were other people making decisions because we weren't focused on that at the time, and that was a blessing as well, because at our wedding I remember so many people came up to us after and told us about the impact that it had on them outside of any aesthetic, outside of any decoration, but like the whole purpose of us getting married was very clear in that moment.
You felt God, and you definitely could feel God.
Yeah, for sure. You should take a nap today, and you didn't want to.
God speaks to you in two ways. He speaks to you through the Word and through the Holy Spirit. And in those moments, I felt like God was speaking to us so clearly, and He wanted this marriage to happen. And because He was guiding this marriage, there was things that were going to be affected that I don't even know about. Like she said, like so many people were coming up to us saying how impacted they were by the wedding. And there was probably also a lot of people that didn't come up to us at the same time and tell us, but that still were affected and impacted. And who knows what those people and where they went and how they impacted others just based off of the experience that they had with us. And so what I realized is that when God calls you, it's important to follow through, because in every season, you were saying, every season He provides. Kept just opening the door for us. We were like, man, how do we open this door? Like, we don't know. It's like a big door. It's like a brick. How we gonna run through it? And then the next thing we know, the door opens by itself.
That to me has given me peace in all parts of our life, even now, of knowing that like we've never been without anything. And then it's just like, when you're obedient, one, you are not being obedient for yourself. You are being obedient for so many other people. And so like us making the decision to align ourselves with God, like he said, we don't know how many people we blessed doing that, because people told my mom after our wedding that married people saying like that wedding like changed something that they couldn't explain. And it wasn't us that did it. It was that God gave us the opportunity to be around whatever people He wanted to reach at that moment, and for them to be present at that time and in that moment. So it was like very insane, because like we were just, at the time I didn't think of it as like a huge deal. My brain was just so focused on just like, sometimes I accidentally rushed through things because I just wanted to get it done. So but like when I took a moment to reflect back on it, I realized how powerful that time was, and how non-traditional we did things, but how it was exactly what God wanted us to do. And I can't imagine having done it any differently. at all.
Yeah.
And even like our honeymoon, which is another testimony.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'm a content creator, and I didn't have a lot of followers at the time, but I had reached out to a few Airbnbs because I had seen on TikTok that like you could make money like doing work for brands and stuff like that. And 2 Airbnbs got back to me, and we were able to basically have our honeymoon paid for free because they let us stay there. And one of the places had a jacuzzi.
Yep.
It had a sauna. Like we had such an amazing, relaxed time. And we drove there with our Nissan. Shout out to Nissan. We love Nissan.
Yeah.
And it was just like all these things that God was just saying, like, I am going to take care of you as long as you do as I say. If you do what God has told you to do, you don't really have to worry about the other parts of it, because He does not care about all the minuscule details that we pay so much attention to. So
He provides in every season.
That's what I learned from it, honestly. It was just like, even in moments now where like I feel frustrated with not being where I feel like I should be at, I have to remind myself that God clearly doesn't want me there, because if He did, then I would be there.
Same.
Or 2, I have to understand that maybe I'm not being obedient and listening and doing what He's telling me to do, so I'm not getting the fruits that He wants to give me. So I think that it's important to take responsibility for your part of it and understand that like you're going to get as much as you give to God. God is telling you to step out on faith, then you have to listen to Him.
I would say just trust Him in every step, because it's not supposed to be something that's hard or complicated. It's not supposed to feel like pulling teeth. It's supposed to be smooth, and it's gonna feel like, I wouldn't say magical. It's gonna feel
Powerful.
Yeah, it's gonna feel powerful, and people are gonna feel that presence, not just you. Like other people will feel that it's not coming from you. It's coming from something higher than you. That it has to happen.
It's out of your hands.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing that I would like to add is that when God puts you on a journey, and this is something that I'm learning about the importance of your heart posture as you wait, is that we were not waiting miserably. We were waiting in peace. We were waiting in joy. We really had the heart posture that knowing that God was going to provide, and if He didn't provide, then we shouldn't have had it. So I think that sometimes people will say that they have faith, but then like you're miserable, you're cranky, you're angry, and you're kicking the door, being like, oh God, just take me to the next step. Your heart posture is so important in the journey, because through that time, anytime we didn't know what was next, we just leaned on God, or we tapped into our like leaders who knew how to give us like peace and understanding for things that we couldn't get at the time. So I would say that it's really important to make sure that you're waiting with joy, with peace, and not in a miserable state.
Yeah.
Didn't really understand the magnitude of what God was doing in our life, but one thing that I admire about both of us is that we have obedient spirits. And so if we have clear guidance, especially from God, from the Bible, but also the people that God put in our life, we were being obedient to the wisdom that they were putting upon us and using that to make decisions in our life. So I would say that our leadership that we had in terms of people that God put in our life really helped us to execute the purpose that He put us in this world for, because before then, God always probably had this plan for us, but we wouldn't have been able to execute it had we not had guidance and wisdom from leaders who were keeping us on the right path.
Yeah.
But again, it's like we have obedient spirit. So if they told us that they didn't agree with us doing something, or gave us advice of how we could do things better, we took that advice and our life was better for it.
My pastor was saying something the other day about Jesus was saying that He didn't lose anyone. And so when you have people that are pouring into you, especially that are wise spiritually, it's important to, take counsel and listen to what they're saying, because 10 out of 10, they've already been through it. To just like follow through and just like make sure that you take into account everything that's being poured into you, and that you put it at the forefront of all the actions that you're about to take. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. And if you like what you heard, share it. And if you don't,
share it and tell people that you don't like it.
We like our haters too. We love our haters. But share it, comment your experience with marriage. Comment your experience with marriage. share any questions that you have or any topics that you want to hear us talk about. Until next time, bye.